Up next, we're moving on to the first panel of the day, Changing Minds. Before we begin, I want to remind our viewers that this panel has a live Q&A component in Whova. You're encouraged to participate and as questions appear, to vote on the questions you wish to have answered. Please ensure you're in the correct session prior to submitting your questions. And next, we have a short message from the Mining Association of BC. Thank you, MABC, for sharing your video. It is now my pleasure to introduce this morning's session moderator, Tim McEwan, Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs, Mining Association of British Columbia.
Well, good morning and a warm welcome to this year's Natural Resources Forum Mining Industry Panel. My name is Tim McEwan and I'm Senior Vice President, Corporate Affairs with the Mining Association of BC. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that I am joining you from the shared traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Tsawwassen and other Coast Salish peoples. I want to extend my appreciation to these First Nations for the opportunity to meet with you from here. And I'm very pleased to be moderating our panel on Changing Minds with 4 leaders who will bring their perspectives on this theme. Joining me today are Don Strickland, Executive Vice President, Sustainability, Copper Mountain Mining Corporation; John Gaunt, General Manager, Newcrest Red Chris Mining Limited; Nalaine Morin, Lands Director, Tahltan Central Government; Paul Ratte, General Manager, Barkerville Gold Mines Limited. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. For today's session, each panelist will make a few brief opening remarks and then we'll transition to Q&A. We'll be using Whova to help manage today's Q&A, so audience members, please pose your questions through Whova and upvote those you'd like to see asked. Today's panel session is very timely and topical. Our industry stands on the cusp of an enormous opportunity to be a leading provider of the low carbon metals the world needs to transition to net zero emissions by 2050. In doing so, BC's mining industry is embracing innovation, environmental, social, and governance practices, and Indigenous partnerships. Developing a mine from initial concept through to operation requires technical skill, agility to meet contemporary environmental, social, and governance expectations, deep partnerships with Indigenous peoples, along with strong relationships with local communities. BC's mines are changing with the times. BC's industry ascribes to amongst the highest regulatory standards in the world. This is as it should be. While there is always more work to do, BC's mines have led the way on advancing economic reconciliation and partnerships with Indigenous nations. Here, we embrace the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, which points the way forward to partnerships and shared prosperity for all British Columbians. Innovation is critical for meeting contemporary expectations around ESG, not least our industry's efforts to decarbonize further and faster. It's also critical for deploying new techniques which will extract more value from BC's mineral resources and support continuous improvement in operational processes. Here, MABC, in partnership with the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation and Foresight, has an innovation challenge underway to advance innovative water treatment technologies. This is but one way that our industry, together with government, continues to underscore and advance the importance of innovation. I'll shift to the greater provincial context for a moment, where mining currently offers our province a significant opportunity, one we haven't seen in decades, and one we must seize. Currently, there are 7 very realistic near-term new mines and mine expansions under consideration in our province. Taken together, we're looking at more than $4 billion in capital expenditure and more than 6,400 new construction and operating jobs. All are within a year or two of making a final investment decision. Their total economic impact, more than $10 billion. This is a very big deal, and there is urgency to make them happen. At MABC, we're pleased Minister Ralston and his staff acknowledge and continue to work to improve BC's regulatory and permitting processes for mines. Creating a more streamlined and predictable regulatory and permitting process is imperative. It's not about less regulatory oversight. Fundamentally, it's about people and responsibly seizing an opportunity right before our eyes. It's about unlocking BC's low carbon mineral resources to help the world decarbonize. It's about sustaining Indigenous and regional communities and well-paid jobs. And all British Columbians will share in the benefits. We know investors have a choice. They can choose to invest in projects all over the world. We want BC to be investors' choice where responsibly produced minerals and metals build the low-carbon infrastructure and products the world needs to tackle climate change. A regulatory regime that provides more timely permitting and authorizations will help achieve this. A better carbon pricing policy will help us achieve this, one that recognizes BC's low carbon advantage and uses carbon tax dollars to help our industry decarbonize further and faster. Concerted effort in these areas will sustain our existing mines and deliver the 7 other new mines and mine expansions. With the right focus on our changing mines, we are positioned for significant opportunity. We need to seize it, and we need to do so together. With that, let's go to our panelists to hear their perspectives on BC's changing mines. And we'll begin with Don Strickland of Copper Mountain Mining Corporation. Don, over to you.
Copper Mountain is committed to achieving net zero GHG emissions by 2035. And the first big step we're taking towards that goal is installing a trolley assist project at our Copper Mountain mine in BC, in Princeton. And that will replace diesel consumption with clean BC electricity. BC, as one of the lowest carbon intensive electricity grids in the world, so we're using that advantage to provide a leadership position in reducing HALT or GHGs and towards our goal of net zero GHG emissions. Haul truck diesel consumption is the largest source of GHG emissions in BC open pit mines. And so that's the single largest impact we can make. And that's the challenge we're tackling. The technology is not yet evolved to allow haul trucks to operate on batteries like personal vehicles. But this project will evolve the technology to allow haul trucks to operate on electricity similar to a streetcar and still replace diesel consumption. We're presently constructing a 1 kilometer trolley assist project and ramp in our main pit, and we'll start commissioning that in the next few months. We believe trolley assist is foundational to reducing GHGs in open pit mines around the world, and additional technologies such as battery and fuel cells, which are a little further out, we think that they're not going to replace trolley, but they will be complementary to trolley. So we're really keen on advancing this project and setting the stage to tackle the elimination of diesel in haul trucks in open pit mines. We don't have all the solutions yet, but we're tackling the challenges, and we'll continue to work with our partners to implement technologies that's going to allow us to drive towards that net zero GHG emissions. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Don. With that, we'll move along to John Gaunt with Newcrest, Red Chris Mining Limited. John? Okay, while we sort out what's going on with John, maybe Nalaine, could we move along to you and we'll come back to John?
Okay.
Oh, there's John.
Okay,
John,
sorry guys, can you hear me now or not?
Yes, we can. Thank you, John.
Okay, so good morning all. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Secondly, and primarily, I'd like to recognize that today I'm speaking to you from Red Chris, which is on the land of the Tahltan Nation, who are the traditional owners and custodians of this land, and very much our partners in this business. So thank you ever so much to the Tahltan for letting Newcrest operate in your properties and territories. So it's very much appreciated and a critical business partner with us. And obviously great to see Nalaine on this call, who is a senior member of the Tahltan Nation. So I'd like to thank also the organizers for this event. As many of you will be aware, Newcrest is Australia's largest gold mining company. We're also in the top 10 globally. As a company, Newcrest is headquartered out of Melbourne and has operation and development projects across Australia, PNG, Papua New Guinea, Canada, and a number of exploration projects across North and South America as well. We've been in Canada since August of 2019 with a 70% acquisition of Redcrest, where we're the operating partner in a JV with Imperial. For us, look, British Columbia has turned out to be a great fit for the organisation. We're focused on creating a work environment where everyone can go home safely and healthily every day, with an emphasis obviously on environmental stewardship and sustained focus on creating mutually beneficial relations with our host communities, particularly the Tahltan. I want to also highlight to you how critical those relationships are for us in British Columbia, particularly against the backdrop of COVID and obviously the issues that's causing all of us at this time and for the past 2 years. At Redcrest, our collaboration with the Tahltan has been instrumental in our managing the impact of COVID, both on site and in our communities. I mean, it's really important to realize that our social license to operate requires that we support the communities as well as just the site. And that's required very close and near constant cooperation with the Tahltan, who set up a Tahltan Emergency Management Committee specifically focused on COVID and mitigating the effects of that. And as part of that, we've assisted and worked with them on the supply of food, emergency medevac facilities, and also testing capacity. COVID aside, the long-term vision of Redcrest isn't possible without the Tahltan. As our partners, without them, we won't succeed, and it's very critical to our success, and that relationship has been really important to us. As a result of that, we have established the Environmental Oversight Committee and technical subcommittees with direct participation. And Nalaine, who's on this call, is actually the lead for that group, which is excellent and really an important part for us. Similarly, we also have a tailings review panel, which has been set up with the Tahltan, and it's the first in British Columbia to have the Tahltan First Nation involved in that tailings process. I hope to talk to you a little bit later about more of what we're doing in this region and how we as a company are progressing.
Thanks, John. We'll move along to Nalaine, who's the lands manager with the Tahltan Central Government. Nalaine, over to you.
Good morning. Very pleased to be here today. I'm calling in today from Wet'suwet'en traditional territory, of which I reside. I have been working with the Tahltan Central Government and with other nations across the province of BC and also in Canada throughout my career. And I've seen significant change in our approach and our way we focus on our way that we do mining. Just specifically with the Tahltan, over the last 15 years, we've gone from, what are early days of consultation to today, where, it's really about nations actively participating, not only in the operation of the mine, but also in the review, the development, and in some instances, the design of the mine as well. And so with Tahltan, and John spoke to a few of the examples, we've been doing some very innovative things. And, for me, with a lot of the companies that I've been able to work with, as well as with the province of BC, I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to work with people who have an interest in looking forward into the future and seeing, how things could change. People that are interested in thinking outside of the box, And with this, we've been able to do these amazing things. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the work right now that we're doing with Skeena Resources on the Eskay Creek Revitalization Project, where on this particular project, the Tahltan and the province of BC are negotiating the first consent-based agreement for the environmental assessment for that project. And in order for us to be able to do this, Tahltan have built upon, their experience, have focused on their experience, and their experience, which includes the work that we have done through the development and design of the Tahltan Heritage Resources Environmental Assessment Team. This team was created in 2005, and some of the unique aspects of that were the inclusion of Tahltan knowledge and local knowledge right from the outset. So in 2005, there was recognition at that time by our leadership of the importance of our local community and members' voices in how projects were being done in Tahltan territory. And we've only built on that and moved forward on that. In some of the examples that John has given, the Environmental Oversight Committee or technical subcommittees, we now have that set up not only with Red Chris and Newcrest, but also with Eskay Creek. And it's been a learning experience for everyone because, one of the things that we note, and we all know, that, to design a mine, you need certain technical expertise to be able to do that. And so our team, the Tahltan Heritage Resource Environmental Assessment Team, continues to evolve and change to be able to meet those capacity requirements. But as industry members who work in the territory know, Tahltan hold fast and firm on the importance of Tahltan knowledge and the inclusion of Tahltan knowledge in project work in our territory. So that kind of information or that requirement is captured not only in impact benefit agreements that we have, but now we see it also in our environmental legislation. So as you can see, over the years, the things that have changed for us is we're not only participating or receiving information on projects, we're actually actively participating through operations, through governance, and also through project design. Thank you.
Thanks, Nalaine. And we'll move along to Paul with Barkerville Gold Mines Limited. Paul, over to you.
Great. First of all, I want to thank you for having me here, Tim. I'm very pleased to be here. And I also want to acknowledge that Barkerville Gold Mines and Cisco Development Group are coming to you from and operating within the traditional territories of the Tahltan Nation, the Hatsuth First Nation, and Williams Lake First Nation. I'd like to take a step back and just briefly give an overview of who Barkerville Gold Mines and the project is and where we've come from and where we're going. So we're currently a growing company with aspirations to be a mid-tier producer within the gold space. Currently, we have two operating assets in the Americas, one in the Caribou Regional District and another one in Mexico. And we're currently completing a feasibility and an EA, and we will strive to begin construction in the later stages of 2022 and early into 2023. I personally believe we have a world-class asset. It is listed right now at a 12-year life of mine. However, I personally believe it's going to be around for 50, 60, 70, even up to 100 years. This is not a short-term play here. It's a multi-generational asset. And I first joined the company in 2017, and I personally have seen significant changes, more so in the regulatory aspects of the industry. And I believe that BGM has developed really strong relationships and really worked closely within the communities and also in the Indigenous groups from the onset of the project, and really we minimize the significant impacts requiring change. We've definitely taken into consideration, looked at all the challenges that were brought up within the actual consultation periods, and I think we've really managed a lot of the concerns. Now, within the environmental standards, they're definitely becoming more stringent, and I'm not arguing that they shouldn't be. I think they should be, and we're definitely going to become, well, we're leading when it comes to all the environmental concerns. Air quality is getting more stringent, water quality, discharge limits, even societal impacts, visual impacts. And right now we're in a fairly good position to mitigate that as we're going through the EA and also the feasibility study to really get our design bases up front and really acknowledge these challenges and implement solutions to these challenges. Luckily, they're technical in nature mostly, so they do have solutions, fairly easy solutions. Right now, what I see coming up in British Columbia, especially in the Caribou Regional District, the CRD, the largest challenge that I think we're going to face ourselves is actually more relating to the workforce, to people. Right now, there's a significant lack of skilled labor within the region, and since we're going to be expanding, so currently we have around 50 underground employees, and we're going to be expanding to over 400 within the next couple of years. So we really need to be proactive and take this concern seriously and develop strategies to mitigate these. For instance, one of the things that we've done in the short term is to develop a training program in conjunction with the College of New Caledonia, and it's an accredited program. And we really want to hire local and train local people to really maximize the benefit of living close to a town, close to a city, and a center we can draw from and really promote high quality jobs. And really my goal is to actually develop this program and have ourselves being one of, if not the major training center for the area, for the underground mining workforce. So we're definitely looking at ways outside the box to minimize the societal impacts and also make sure that we are a very high-class world producer within the Caribou Regional District. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Paul. So our topic today is changing minds, and let's start by having each of our panelists share one way in which your organization is changing to address heightened social and investor consciousness around ESG, particularly as it relates to decarbonization, Indigenous partnerships, and extraction processes that lessen environmental footprints. And as we all work to maintain our leading position in environmental protection here in British Columbia. So for Don, Copper Mountain has aggressively been pursuing leading approaches to decarbonization and advanced emissions reporting techniques and technology. Can you elaborate on what Copper Mountain's done over the past year or so?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Certainly, as we talked about with trolley assist, that's one of the key items we're focused on that we think is really going to change our GHG emissions long term, and it's going to be foundational to allow us to achieve that goal of net zero. We set at a target of net zero by 2035, and that's a pretty bold target, and we've identified around 8 steps to make us one of the lowest GHG open pit copper mines in the world within the next 5 to 7 years. And so we've started the process. Certainly low carbon BC electricity is fundamental to electrification and reduction of GHGs, and so we're focused on that and a number of things that we can do to replace diesel with electricity. That is one of I guess of the ESG topics we're focused on. We've started following TSM and are moving forward with TSM or towards sustainable mining. There's a lot of ESG systems out there, and we've chose to utilize the Mining Association of Canada towards sustainable mining standard as the standard to follow. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it's one of the oldest systems, ESG systems out there. It's built on almost 20 years of international mining experience. It continues to evolve with our world, so it's not a stagnant system. It evolves, and it uses independent, external, certified auditors or verifiers to verify results, and there's full transparency in those results. And so, we started TSM basically to provide an extra layer of confidence in our tailings management facility and to demonstrate our system and our infrastructure achieved a A rating within the TSM system. And then over the last 2 years, we've gone and fully implemented TSM and recently announced to the world that we've achieved our objectives of a minimum A or yes rating on all the 8 TSM protocols within the TSM system. So climate change is one of the TSM protocols, and that's where trolley assist fits. But there's 7 additional protocols that cover the range of ESG criteria. So, from our perspective, climate change is one of those key ESG credentials and one of the key things we're focused on. But we're focused on the broader ESG focus that we feel is fairly well covered by TSM. And it's great that we've been able to achieve the ratings we've achieved late last year, and to demonstrate that Copper Mountain is committed to doing things in a responsible manner, and that our copper is produced in a responsible manner. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Don. Thanks. Moving along, John, you've been working with the provincial government for permitting and authorizations on an exciting new approach to mining with your block cave approach. For the benefit of participants, can you describe why this is a game changer for mining at your operation?
Absolutely, Tim. More than happy to. So, for those of you not familiar with block caving is an underground mining methodology which it involves most of our investment being upfront, and effectively we generate an underground operation that undercuts the ore body or sets up a level beneath it, and then we extract from below. It has a number of advantages. One, it allows us to mine very large, low-grade ore bodies, which is an example of Redcrest. And secondly, the environmental assessment or impact is actually relatively low. We're bringing the land or downwards and recovering the copper and gold that way, rather than with open pits creating large spoil pit heaps. So there's quite a bit of advantage for that. And it's also the operation here, which we're in the feasibility studies for. We're looking at a multi-generational operation, which is going to require a significant amount of investment from the company. So currently the operations at Redcrest have been very successful. They obviously led to Newcrest investing here. But the main reason for our interest in this part of the world is the actual underground potential. And being one of the premier block caving companies in the world, Newcrest is obviously very, very keen to use that knowledge and to develop opportunities in this jurisdiction. So British Columbia for us is very much a starting point. It's an area where we're focused on expanding into the Americas. British block caving itself, it's not new to British Columbia. New Afton is a successful mine operated by New Gold. We very much respect what's been done there. The difference between what we're looking at and New Afton is purely scale. We're looking at something which is a world-class, very, very large operation, and will be lasting here for, as we said, multiple generations. I'm not going to repeat everything that was in the feasibility study that was released last October, but suffice to say, there's a lot of moving parts to get the block cave operating. That involves us setting up multiple declines in sequence, ventilation underground, tailings complexes, the usual plethora of side projects and principal projects. And as part of that, it's been really important for us to be engaged and working both with the Tahltan and with the province and also with MABC. So getting a lot of support from the permitting agencies and obviously the First Nation, our host First Nation. And being able to work with those groups in a constructive way has been massively important for us and is going to be a key for the success of this project ahead of us. Back to you,
Thanks,
Tim.
Thanks, John. Nalaine, Newcrest and the Tahltan are working together to extend the mine life of Red Chris, as we've discussed so far. Can you discuss some of the key factors in building and maintaining your partnership with Newcrest and their management team? You've touched on it, but is there further elaboration you'd like to give?
I think one of the things that I would mention here is the commitment from both parties to maintain, develop, and strengthen a relationship, utilizing and building upon the tools or the commitments that we've made to each other. So through our impact co-benefits agreement, we have multiple forums developed both at a project management or at a management level, at an environmental level, and also at a social level. And through these types of arrangements, we're able to have open and frank conversations, as well as it's an opportunity for Tahltan to provide feedback and input to the company for consideration. The other thing to mention here as well is that at the mine, we have a very healthy population or percentage of the mine staff are people that work at the mine that are Tahltan. And, some of these people now are working their way up into professional positions, like in the environment department and in other places as well. Also, I think it's important, to mention the commitment that the company has made to the well-being of the communities. There has been, significant work done by the company to support the Tahltans through this COVID pandemic that we've all find ourselves in and have for the last 2 years. And I think Newcrest, with the the emergency response team, have really stepped up and done a lot to support the companies. So I think there are a number of things to identify and things that we've identified through this talk that clearly illustrate we are on a path to success. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Nalaine. And now over to Paul. Paul, you've talked a bit about the workforce challenges you've had, and local communities can experience a lot of new economic activity from a project like this. This is terrific news for the Caribou and the communities within it and sustaining those communities. What interesting or perhaps unique things have you done with Indigenous and local communities around meeting your workforce challenges and needs?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Really, I think it's all about relationship building. And I think our community relations team and our corporate team have done a fantastic job when it comes to building relationships with the local communities and also Indigenous partners. Really, this is not a small mine. I mean, we're going to be around for quite some time, and our operating budget is going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars on an annual basis. And I personally believe the success of the operation is going to be all around hiring and retaining local, buying local as much as we can. That's not going to happen overnight, and really, we're really going to rely on our partners to step up and really be able to provide the goods and services we require to operate efficiently. So, like I mentioned before, trading opportunities. With the amount of growth we have underground, we really need to hone in and develop strategies, like I mentioned, to build up the area. It's not really, the Caribou Regional District is not really a hotbed of underground mining. It's more of an open pit mining center. And I'm trying to transition that. There's also a strong lumber and forestry industry within the area as well. So I'm trying to take some of the skills that they have had and really implement new skills with the underground workforce. So there is a lot of industry in the area, just not the type of industry I'm looking for. And with that, with the growth, there's definitely a whole tremendous amount of opportunity within the local communities. Some of the things we've done, we've really helped out the local contractors on site, trained up their employees in conjunction with themselves to be able to meet our needs. We've contacted the Chamber of Commerce within the local region, so Prince George, and also in the Quesnel region to specify our demands, or not specify our demands, but specify our requirements and really try and help build up to that level as well. And also for contracting and employment opportunities. Definitely our contractors within the region definitely need to be able to help us out as well. So it's more of a partnership, and that's what I was mentioning before. We need to really support each other and help each other out to build up to that level. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Paul. Now, with that, perhaps we can move along to the Whova chat. And I see there's a couple questions there that we can address as a panel and maybe go down the line. The first is, do you have concerns that the new regulations and labor force gaps in the mining industry will be able to maintain a competitive seat at the international table? Maybe if I could, Don, if you have any thoughts on that to begin with.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I guess from my perspective, I mean, I agree that the labor force requirements and challenges are global. I mean, it's a global market for talent, and it's probably not a lot different in BC than it is in Arizona or other jurisdictions throughout the world. But one of the great opportunities, I think, is the branding of our BC production, and as responsible and people wanting to be part of sustainable changes for the planet, and so I think that creates interest and the ability to attract people to BC. I think the regulatory change is as everybody said, is positive. It's we need to continue to push forward with improvements and minimize our impact as much as we can. And so I think the regulatory change within BC is supportive of that process.
John, do you have any comments you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think from my side, Tim, really for us, the underground of a block cave is about 5 to 6 years away from being realized. So we're at this stage starting to have discussions with training organizations in British Columbia. The way we see it is actually to effectively get the people young and train them and bring them into the organizations and into the industry. So although we see it as a challenge, there's also a huge opportunity to actually start partnering with the First Nations and with schools and colleges and start looking at how we transition a future workforce. We're going to be here for a long time, and we need to look at a long-term solution. So that partnering with local training facilities is actually going to be something really important for us. We're early on the journey. We've only started really looking at it and understanding our future needs, but it's something where we're going to be focused.
Terrific. Thanks, John. Nalaine, any comments on this?
So I would just look at it from a different perspective. I know when reviewing the development of mines in northern communities, and especially, I know Tahltan have raised this on a number of occasions. We understand, these operations, they take people to run. And, we're looking at some of the mines in the north, and some of them are up to and will be over 1,000 people. The biggest concern is once you bring all of these people into the territory, there are issues specifically related to safety, the well-being of the people in the north. Is there going to be a large influx of, substances coming into the territory, right? So we want to make sure if, there is plans to do these types of things, that the appropriate safety and management provisions are in place to ensure the continued health and well-being of our people.
Thanks, Nalaine. Paul, anything further?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we're definitely going to have some challenges when it comes to labor. And I think, as everybody touched on, this is prevalent. It's not just our operation, it's worldwide, right? I think we're in a unique position as Barkerville Gold Mines project to essentially have a soft start. So right now we are operating a very small mine in preparation for a larger scale project within the next couple of years. So we've been very fortunate to have seen these challenges firsthand and then develop mitigation strategies in the short to near term to really address them. And I think as a proactive approach, and I think John mentioned this earlier as well, that we develop training programs and we really hire for the personality and we train this skill set as required. And that's what our entire goal is. Now, having said that too, we're going to be attracting quite a few other people within the region as well, with the major center being either Quesnel or Wells. And with that, that means additional housing requirements. So if you know the Caribou Regional District at all, I think Quesnel has a vacancy rate of like 0.9% within the housing region, right? So that also means working with the regional governments to try and increase the housing capacity and even just the services. So water, sewer. So that's kind of what we're doing right now as well. We're just making sure that we can accommodate all the influx of people.
Great. Sticking with you for a second, Paul, there's one question that's asked specifically for you around, and it goes as follows. What are some of the transferable skill sets you see which can benefit from multiple resource sector accreditation?
Well, definitely. So if we're in industry, I mean, mining is an industry. So lumber mills, if you're working around equipment, that's a natural fit for underground as well, right? Forestry, same thing. A lot of transferable skill sets that way. And what I mentioned before is that, I'm really not hiring on skill set. I'm really hiring on personality and behavioral analysis, and then we'll train that skill set as well. However, if you already have a transferable skill set, such as equipment operator or even some of the skilled trades, so millwright, electrician, mechanic, that's a very, very transferable skill to have.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for that, Paul. Another question posed by the audience. The clean energy transition has contributed to a dramatic increase in the demand for lithium and graphite. How or are your companies planning to get into this market domestically and internationally? So maybe, Don, I could start with you on that.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I guess we have no plans to get into graphite or lithium, but copper is one of those metals that's required for the green future. And, our company purpose is powering a sustainable future. And so it's about producing copper to support that and doing it in a responsible manner. So our focus is on copper.
Okay. John, maybe I'll just pose that question to you as well.
Exactly the same, actually. Newcrest is a copper, gold, or gold-focused company. There's no direct interest in moving to graphite or lithium, but obviously we do produce copper and will be continuing to produce copper for a long time ahead.
Okay, thanks for that, John. Okay, I think we're coming close to time for the session, so maybe we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for all your input today in this panel. That was a very informative panel that offered a number of insights on BC's changing mines as they embrace innovation, ESG, and embed Indigenous partnerships. I'd like to thank our panelists, Don, Nalaine, John, and Paul. Thanks for taking the time to join us today and share your perspectives on BC's changing mines. I'd also like to thank the C3 Alliance team and Oh Boy Productions for their expertise and effort to make this panel a success. And I'd like to thank the audience for taking the time to join us today. I hope that what you've heard helps to shape your thinking about BC's changing mines and the important contribution BC mining and smelting will continue to play in advancing BC's Indigenous and local communities and our low carbon future together. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the Natural Resources Forum.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Tim and panel. We appreciated hearing a great discussion on how BC's mining industry is embracing innovation. At this point, we'd also like to highlight a fantastic initiative, Mining for Miracles, which is the BC mining community's long-standing fundraising campaign in support of BC Children's Hospital Foundation.